Hello everyone, in this video we're going to be taking a look at Zorin OS. It is a Linux-based operating system that is designed for first-time users of Linux, because it looks rather like Windows. I think you're going to find it quite interesting because it's also got lots of Ubuntu tie-ins. So let's just quickly set up this VM. As you can see, it already knows that it's Linux, but hasn't got it on the default OS list, so let's just go with other Linux 64-bit, that should be alright. And let's give it 4 gigs of RAM, that should be enough. Dynamically allocated. Now, I know this is going to seem a bit over the top, but I'll give it 20 gigabytes of space. That will basically guarantee that it is plenty enough for it, really. And let's load the Zorin OS 12.2 core ISO file. Now, it's got several different editions. Let's just start this up anyway. It's got several different editions, this OS. It's got the core version, it's got a sort of premium professional version, and one moment, I'll just quickly resize this. So as I say, it's got a core version, it's got a professional version, and I think it's got like an educational version, although I'm not quite sure about that. I have got my research file next to me all printed out ready, but yeah. So it is hopefully going to be a rather nice OS. Like I said, this is the first time I've used it, so I'm not going to know all the ins and outs of it. And yeah, let's just wait until this does its thing. As you can see, it's already adapted to the virtual screen anyway. It's got the correct resolution, I mean. That's one thing I like about these modern OSs, they can automatically detect when they're in a virtual machine. So we're not going to try Zorin, let's just go ahead and install it. See what the installer's like. I presume this is going to be rather similar to Ubuntu, because third-party stuff, because apparently it's based on Ubuntu, although that technically means it's based on Debian, because Ubuntu is based on Debian. Let's just install that. As you can see, the installation does remind me of Ubuntu's setup process. You can see it's detected that we're in the UK. Well, I am anyway. That's all okay. And yeah, this is all very Ubuntu-esque. Sorry if the tapping away at the keyboard is quite irritating. I'll try to keep, obviously, using the keyboard rather limited, because I know I've got an integrated microphone into this PC, so it's just annoying. It it naturally makes every single keyboard strike sound like, well, it's really noisy, but yeah. Rather annoying. Thinking about getting an external microphone just because of that. As you can see, it's already got an inbuilt graphics driver for VirtualBox. It looks great already. It's got a really nice installer. It just all looks very modern, and I believe, well, I think it's running on a sort of GNOME-based UI. Right. Well, I have got some research, but I think some of these points are rather similar to the. Some of the things I've got written down are for older versions of Zorin OS, so they might not be relevant. The first point I've put is, obviously, as I've already mentioned, it's designed for newcomers to Linux, as this distribution has a similar look to Windows and has a MacOS visual style in premium versions, apparently. That might be for older versions though. And it's got numerous themes, so it can look much like Windows 7, Windows XP, Windows 2000 or GNOME 2. Like I say, that's subject to whatever version this research came from. And think this is straight from their website. The system requirements for Zorin OS Ultimate, Business and Core is a GHz single core 1 GHz single core processor, a gigabyte of RAM, 10 gigabytes of storage space for the core version, or 20 gigabytes for the Ultimate version, and it needs a 800 by 600 resolution capable monitor. And Zorin OS 12 Lite, that requires 700 megahertz single core processor, 512 megs of RAM, 8 gigabytes of storage, and 640 by 480 resolution. So that's basically that. Sorry, I tend to start quite a lot, so it's quite annoying when I'm trying to read something out. Right, so it looks like it's almost finished anyway. Like I say, this does sort of remind me of the Ubuntu 17.10 setup process, and I like the desktop background already. So any time today, Zorin OS. I don't expect it to go really quickly. Shall I tell you what? I'll just speed up the video from this point so you don't have to sit here waiting for it until the end of time. Right, so the installation is now complete. Let's just quickly restart the VM. Probably going to ask me to eject the virtual CD. Now, it's weird how it comes up with this. Please remove the installation medium, then press enter. Strange because it removes it automatically. So I'm not sure even why it asks you that. Let's press enter anyway. Wait for it to boot back up. There's probably going to be a few more little processes that it has to do before it actually boots to the desktop. Oh, to my surprise, it's actually booted straight to the desktop. So as you can see, it's all loaded properly. So down here, this is what I think of as a start button. And the UI itself sort of looks like a mixture of Windows 8.1, in my opinion anyway. It looks a bit like a mixture of Windows 8.1 and Windows 7, because it's got a Windows 7 style start menu by the looks of things, and it's got an 8.1 taskbar. So, it looks rather nice really. There's no all programs bit, as you'd expect down there. If I click on something though, because it's all sort of, I think it's categorised. Ah yeah, so it is. So as you can see, if I go on games for example, then that takes you to separate sort of subfolders in the, don't know if they'd like you to call it start menu or whatever really. But yeah, it's got quite a few programs included. Quite a few of these are actually, they look like native programs to this system. Always like it when they have those native programs. So anyway, let's take a look at some other things. Explorer windows. As you can see here, oh, that looks very nice. Look at that. So yeah, everything is as you'd expect really. Cool, yeah. Even like if I go to home, the icons are really nice as well. And as in Windows, you've got the obviously exit, minimize and restore options up there. So I've like Ubuntu when they're over the left side, obviously these ones are over the right side. So yeah, looks rather interesting. The software store, now this would be interesting. Let's have a look. Now there's one way to find out whether this is, it looks sort of like the Ubuntu 17.10 software center, but there's one way to find out if it is. It should come up with a prompt if you try to install anything. Oh yeah, Ubuntu one. So this is obviously a borrowed program from Ubuntu obviously, but all the same, with this sort of theme on it, it looks really nice. So let's have a look and see if there's anything else. Settings. Oh, and the same with this one. This is rather Ubuntu-esque. So if we go somewhere like Zorin Appearance, this is interesting. So you can have a layout like that. In a way, that sort of reminds me of the Ubuntu or Linux Mint layout. And this one, oh, that's the sort of GNOME layout. Activities, yeah. Very GNOME-y. Yeah. Sort of GNOME / Ubuntu 17.10. I mean, I prefer the obviously native UI there, but that's just basically for Ubuntu users. Basically, if they wanted to use this, let's have a look. So you've got quite a few options for obviously the layout, animations, lots of things really. And I don't think like if you click on one of these, yeah, no. I was expecting it to like open a whole different subfolder in the settings, but obviously that's okay anyway. Well, this is interesting. So you can go with different colour schemes. So it reminds me of the Windows 9X options, where you had like the wheat theme, the brick theme, the harvest theme, or whatever, and yeah. Just sort of native recolours really. I rather like that. Sort of gives you a bit of a classic-esque style, obviously themes on this really modern system, which is really nice. So let's go to notifications, see if there's anything interesting. As you can see, Razero, I think that's how you pronounce it anyway, that's a really good application for obviously uploading ISO files onto a optical disc, and I think it also can create ISO files, although I haven't used it in years, so I'm not quite sure anymore. Rhythmbox, that's a media player if I remember correctly, and well, I remember thinking that's almost as good as VLC, so quite a good one then. And as you can see, there's lots of other options as well. Network, printers, Wacom tablet. I presume that's for if you're in Ubuntu tablet mode, but I think that's discontinued now anyway. So you've got options for firewall configurations. Basically, it's all there. Background, I presume this is just desktop backgrounds. Let's see what nice desktop backgrounds they've got, shall we? So you've got that one from Hubble Space Telescope. Not sure what that is. And obviously that's your default desktop background. You've got this weird computer generated one down here, which just looks like a simple fade one. There we are. Don't like that one though. Shall we go with the Milky Way? Or is that the Andromeda Galaxy? I think that's the Milky Way though. Although if I'm honest, I just prefer the native theme, this one. And the lock screen, you can select a whole multitude of things. The Aurora Borealis, I think that's called, the Northern Lights, by the mountain there, which looks really nice. That one sort of reminds me of the that weird one which was included in Windows XP and was used as a default desktop background on one of the RC releases. Yeah, so that's rather nice. Funny, you get more options for I think you get more options for desktop backgrounds for the lock screen. Colours. So obviously that basically is if you want to set a colour as your lock screen or desktop background. So yeah, all pretty bog standard stuff really. So there's not much else to look at in there anyway. So if I'm sure, I think that's basically it. Oh, so it's got Wine as well. That's the Wine Windows program loader. So if you were to need to run an exe file on Linux, which everyone's always saying, oh, well, I don't want to use Linux because I can't use Windows programs on it. Well, you sort of can. This is a really intelligent program that sort of emulates Windows, so you can have a Windows program on your desktop and just run it, and it works perfectly. So, in my experience, it's always worked pretty well. So yeah, that's quite interesting. I believe that's got the Windows 7 kernel version now, although I'm not quite sure. There might be a way to, if I go configure, there might be a way to select a kernel version, whether you want to go with the Windows 10 kernel version, the 8.1, 7, Vista or XP. Might even be able to go down to the Windows 9X series, I don't know really. So let's leave that to load. We've got the Chromium browser, which is basically Google Chrome. Not sure what GUI email client and files, as we've already seen. Okay, so here's the wine configuration. As you can see, it looks very Windows-esque, and as you can see down here, this lets you choose the Windows version which it wants to sort of imitate. I don't know if that's the right way of saying it. So as you can see, you've got Windows 10, 8.1, 8, Windows 2008 R2, Windows 7, Windows 2008. That's the, I believe that's the POS ready version, rather similar to XP. We've got Windows Vista, Server 2003, and XP. Doesn't go down any further though. So if I wanted to select Windows 7, click Apply, then you can basically open exe files as if you're opening it in Windows 7. So always thought that's pretty good. And yeah, it's all pretty sound. I mean, in my experience, Wine has been like a really intelligent program, and I've always enjoyed using Wine because it's just fascinating. Obviously, just using a Windows, like a Windows program on Linux. So yeah, I really like it. That's built in as well. So that's basically it, really. I mean, I remember playing around with that for ages, but yeah, it always worked quite well in my experience. So anyway, I think that is basically it now. I don't think there's much else. I mean, most of this, the native programs on this are mostly adapted from Ubuntu. So yeah, we've got a startup disk creator as well. Windows wireless drivers. I suppose that's something to do with Wine. And the graphics, we've got the GIMP image editor, that is rather good. LibreOffice Draw, Simple Scan, I believe that's for scanners, as to be expected. And what was I? Sound and video. Here we go. So that's the 0 one, which basically means you can write so files to disks. I believe that one is a webcam recorder. That one, well, this one is really interesting. PTV, I can't pronounce it really. This is a movie maker, and it's got quite a strange sort of neon theme to it. But yeah, I mean, I haven't really used this. I might test it out at some point and do a video on it. But apparently that's rather good. And there's a Rhythm Box media player and videos. Like I say, if you want to install any other application on this through the Software Center, it's just a case of setting up an Ubuntu One account, or if you've already got one, just signing into it. But I'm not really going to do that today because there's not much point, and it's probably not going to be particularly interesting anyway. So yeah, that's basically it. Disk usage analyzer, that'd be interesting. I wonder what this one is. I think this will be a bit like a Piriform program where you can. Oh, this is interesting. So you can see here how your hard drive is taken up by different files. Although I don't think the average user will really understand much of this. It's rather interesting. But it looks good anyway, even if you can't understand what any of it means. So, yeah. Anyway, I think that's basically it. Like I say, I remember disks. I think that's from Ubuntu as well. So most of this is just ported over from Ubuntu, but it's adapted in a really nice way. I really like how it is just sort of a mixture of Windows 8.1, but with a Windows 7 start menu and Ubuntu programs with obviously the One Windows program loader if you want to run an exe file on it. So it is really quite good, and I think if I was a first timer to Linux, which I'm not, I would find this really easy to use. So I think it's rather good, and like I say, this is the core version. There is premium versions. I'm sure they've got a lot more features, but don't really have the money to invest in that. So this was pretty interesting anyway, and it gives you quite an insight into what the premium version would be like. It probably just have quite a few more features. So as I say, that's basically it today. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. And another thing I've noticed, when you press power off, it sort of reminds me of how the rest of the screen greys out. That reminds me of Windows XP. How when you press like log off or power off, the rest of the screen sort of greys out, and then you get the option to obviously power off, restart, or I think in Windows XP it was standby as well. So that's rather good. Anyway, thank you all once again very much for watching, and till the next video, goodbye.